Reptilians. I'm just going to share my perspective thus far on that subject. Starting out from childhood, I think this is significant. Dusty basement tickles my nose. But anyway, okay. Starting out childhood, I had this major like obsession with dinosaurs. I got my hands on every book and had every toy dinosaur and watched any dinosaur movie I could over and over and over. I knew all their names, I knew all their stats, I knew all that stuff, you know, like I could rattle that off better than, you know, adults that worked in dinosaur museums. Totally obsessed, loved them, literally dreamed about them, you know, etc., etc. And I grew up remote in a forest, and you know, I had an affinity for reptiles. I caught lizards and snakes and things all the time. And for example, I could handle snakes as a kid without getting bit. I knew how to just handle a snake, you know, you let it move through you. It came natural. I never even, you know, realized that was unusual until the first time I handed a snake I had caught, like a gopher snake, handed it to my brother to hold it for me for a minute. Because I was going to get this, I used to like take a big ice chest, and sometimes I'd set a snake in it that I caught and just kind of, you know, put some water in there and maybe some bugs or some things to see if I could get him to eat. I'd study him for, you know, a few hours and then I'd let him go. So anyway, you know, I handed it to my brother, and he had no sense about how to hold a snake. He just kind of held on to it, so of course it bit him. And then my mom freaked out. It was this big scene, you know. But after that I realized, oh wait, you know, I can't just hand snakes to other people. Other people don't know how to handle snakes necessarily, you know. Also, my mom tells me that when I was about 2 years old, I used to always ask her, can we go for a walk? And she would take me on walks. And one time we were out on a walk, and she said a huge rattlesnake, like the biggest one she'd ever seen around there, you know, 6 to 8 feet long and really fat, thick, came out and started following me. And she just kept going, and she said it followed for like half a mile or something. Now I don't consciously remember that. I was 2 years old, but I doubt it bothered me, you know. I always liked reptiles. I knew where they were. I could easily find them, and apparently they knew where I was. So anyway, so love dinosaurs, love reptiles. You know, and I studied modern day reptiles too, not just the dinosaurs. I knew all the facts about, you know, which kind of alligator, crocodile, snake, etc. lives where, and how big, and how they live, and yada yada yada. You know, it's like a little encyclopedia of stuff about reptiles. And I went through that reptile stage before I got into my mammal stage, where I learned all kinds of things about mammals, and specifically lions, and, you know, look at my lion people video, because but what I'm getting at here is, out of all the, like this galactic awareness thing that's happening to some of us, out of all the known common, like, alien races that have interacted with people and still do, in some form or another, I have a very clear affinity, with reptilians and the lion people. And I've had a few run-ins with the mantid type guys, but I think because they startled me, maybe they've backed off and they're trying not to overwhelm me or whatever. Because I have been a little startled by them. I feel totally comfortable around lion beings like they're family. I've always seen it in myself somehow. I felt like, you know, why am I not a lion instead of a human? It doesn't even make sense to me. So when I met them, it was like, oh, hey, yeah, of course, here you are. And I see them. I see that DNA, or whatever you want to call it, in other people. Sometimes clear as day, it just pops out at me. I recognize them. But the reptile stuff, okay, like I was saying, when I was young, I went through this whole reptile stage where I just studied them and had all this hands-on experience with them. So I also collected crystals instinctively when I was young. A lot of things I did instinctively when I was a child, I lost somewhere along the way, you know. Life sort of, you know, distracted me, made me lose it, kind of beat it out of me through a variety of means. Anyway, in these recent years, starting about 2010, with this amazing OCD synchronicity thing, got my attention and started waking me up. Or maybe I myself was waking myself up, or however that works, but you know, a few years later, maybe 2012, I don't remember when, all of a sudden all these synchronicities that I had been following, that had been leading me on a clear day-to-day trail, clear as could be, led me to the whole reptilian thing that I wasn't even aware of till then. I didn't know that a bunch of people in this world believe that, there's reptilian aliens interacting, and and I came upon all this horrifying sci-fi belief system would make really good sci-fi, but it's kind of like a religion, really. It's got everybody scared shitless and all this, and I wondered why my guides were showing me this. I was like, are you guys telling me this is real, and like, I should beware, or am I supposed to fight the reptilians, or what it is? But none of that really added up the more I studied it. And where I'm at now, my overall consciousness with it, which is a mixture of heart and mind, and probably mostly heart, because your mind can only do so much with these things, but my basic feeling is they were just showing me that to make me aware, so that I would get to where I am now, which is I recognize a lot of reptilian DNA and traits inside of me. Thankfully I have a lot of other stuff too, but it's there and it's very real. And the thing is, even when I was a child, I didn't have that fear of reptiles that a lot of people have. And somehow that's related to these wild, terrifying theories about reptilians ruling the world or whatever. So I'm hoping to bring some comfort to some people in saying that, just like I was totally comfortable with snakes and lizards and all those things, I'm totally comfortable with these beings. I'm not saying every one of them's some, great character. I mean, look at people. I mean, look at all of us. We can all be good or bad or in between or anything, but I don't think that these blown out of proportion, terrifying belief systems of, how the world's all slaves to reptilians, I highly doubt it. And I think, like anything with vibration, if you're in that mentality and you're terrified that your life's all being, you're a slave to reptilians or something, well, you might attract some kind of being along those lines who will victimize you or whatever. Just like with people, if you're in the pattern of say, well, let's pick an example, being bullied, like physical bullying as a kid, well, you'll attract that a lot. And it's nothing that outwardly shows on you. You don't go around with a sticker that says, please throw me in a trash can and roll me down the hill, but if you're putting out that vibration, you get that, right? Well, same with this. If you're horrified of reptilian beings, you may attract to you one who is a jerk, or pick your word, but me, the encounters I've had, because I've always been very comfortable with reptiles, and I've encountered now some like hybrid type reptilian beings. That's what I've seen. And I think the message in that is, that, to some degree I'm that, not to the degree that I met these characters. They were much more reptilian in their nature than me. They didn't have all these awesome mammal traits that I had, really. But they looked humanoid, but they had the eyes, and they conserved energy, and they focused on one thing at a time, and they very much reminded me of my understanding of reptiles themselves. But I felt no fear or animosity, or they weren't out to get me, not at all. I've met much worse characters in the astral, and most of them just seem like disembodied humans that were in a really bad state of mind. But anyway, yeah, and whatever. I mean, what something appears like in a certain realm, that's just your mind filtering in a certain way anyway. But for those of you that are like terrified, oh, reptilians, they're awful, they're devious, they're behind everything, I really wouldn't worry so much, guys. I really wouldn't. It's just not productive. It's like anything. Worrying too much about stuff kind of makes it much more likely to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. And if you were terrified of, I don't know, pick another group, and if somebody taught you to be terrified of them, you could probably manifest an experience where one of them does something bad to you. If you're terrified so much for so long or whatever, because that's a powerful creative vibration. When you're really fear can manifest, more experiences that just confirm your fear, Strangely enough, that seems to be the way this universe works. So yeah, my 2 cents, I know I'm part reptile for sure, and I admire them. I always admired reptiles from large to small, and they're pretty neat creatures. But you know, I just want people to know. I don't think there's anything in and of being a reptilian type of being that makes you bad, or you know, you automatically prey on people or something like. No, not at all. You know, so you know, that's just my perception so far. But I honor anybody's experience and anybody's knowledge and everything, and some of you have a lot more experience with this issue than I do, and yours may be similar or different or whatever, but let's just share, you know, because the more we shine a lantern on something, the less people's minds are just going to run wild and be terrified about it, you know. Anytime you can shine a light in the dark and show people what's actually there, usually that just helps them, you know, because when you don't know, it's the fear of the unknown that really gets people, you know. So the less it's an unknown subject, I think the less we're going to have people panicking and freaking out and, you know, wasting their life just giving themselves diseases by being so afraid of, you know, something they can't see that's, you know, out to get them or whatever. You know, that harkens back to all these patriarchal religious belief systems that, you know, a while ago it was demons with pitchforks and that's what everybody's terrified of, you know, or whatever, and now it's invisible lizard men, or, you know, it's projection and fear, and you know, a lot of it's just lies and fear that somebody's, you know, playing on you with, or maybe you're playing yourself with it. You know, if we're all growing up and accepting more responsibility for the kind of experience we're having, you know, as much as it baffles my mind some of the shit I've done to myself, but I'm accepting more and more, you know, the creative license that we're operating with, whether we know it or not. So just wanted to share that. I wanted to dispel some fears. You know, like, you're looking at some version to some degree, and I don't think it's a huge degree, but you're looking at some version of a reptilian hybrid right here. And I promise you I don't spy on you when you're using the bathroom or something. And, you know, even if I can influence people with the mind, and I've been shown this a bunch of times by my guides and dreams that I do have that spiritual ability or whatever, remote influence and stuff. Well, they showed me partially so I'd use it, but also as a warning that, you know, be careful, because if I'm really pissed off and like really thinking dark thoughts about somebody, I actually can cause them problems. And they gave me like a warning, you know, like, just so you know, you can be creating karma this way without even knowing it, you know. So, and I look back at some things that had happened to people that I had a falling out with and became very, 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 very viciously angry at, and I always have enough self-control. I just put distance between me and that person so that I don't, you know. But, you know, they were also warning me, hey, you know, you have more, you have like a projecting mental influence on others that you may have not been aware of, and I wasn't. And I don't know if that's reptilian or anything else. I don't know, guys. I'm not some level 97 wizard of knowledge on all this stuff, and I'm sure some of you can school me. And that's what I'm hoping for. I just want to, you know, expand upon it, but I'm just giving my piece, you know, my piece of the pie, so we can, you know, keep expanding the picture and shining that light, so there's not so much, you know, fear of the unknown going on, you know. So I love you guys, and I thank you for being the awesome, open-minded, metaphysical community that you are, and giving me some place to share this where it's gonna actually, you know, have a positive influence instead of just getting stones thrown at me or something. It sure is nice to be able to express things, you know, that are really on the cutting edge of like what humans are moving into their heart consciousness and starting to accept that your feelings knew more about life all along than all the things that have been programmed here, and that's really awesome. So this is just an amazing tool, but your center of consciousness, the thing with the most capacity and the biggest energy field of understanding, is, you know, represented by the idea of your heart. So that's where this is mostly being shared from, and it's just coming through the filter of my mind as I try to explain it, and you guys know this better than me. So anyway, I love you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for any contributions. You know, it certainly isn't. Sci-fi was always my favorite, you know, category of like movies and stuff, and to me there's always been a real lack of it, but it turns out real life is more exciting along those lines than even the stuff people have been able to, you know, creatively display as sci-fi. So anyway, that's like, to me that's like a dream come true, and it keeps coming more true. You know, the more I open up to it, it's like the more the more experience I get, and that's awesome. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about. So that's my piece for now. I'll let you know of any developments. If any big lizard men materialize in here and, you know, reveal anything to me, I'll let you know. Alright, I love you guys. Thank you.